This is the TRS Slider, and it's without doubt one of the hottest golf training aids on the planet right now. Now, fortunately for me, TRS sent one of these out for me to test and review, which I'll be doing over the coming weeks. But I thought, seeing as I've just taken delivery of this, that it'd be the perfect time to take it out to the practice area in the garden and see whether or not straight out of the packet, it could make a difference to my golf swing. And it's safe to say it did exactly that and more. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how I tested this out today, straight out of the packet. If you enjoy this video, please do remember to hit that like button and type it up if you can. If you've got any questions about this slider at all, drop them in the comments area below. Or if you've used it yourself and you've got any opinions on it, please do let us know. And the team at TRS have also included a little unique discount code for me, which will get you 10% off if you do want to buy one of these. That's completely up to you, but it's in the description and the comments if you want it. So what I decided to do was to head out to the practice area with a bag of golf balls, all Titleist Pro V1s, and I wanted to take the FlightScope Mevo Gen 2 out so that I could actually track the data. Because there's no point in me just hitting golf balls and telling you guys that it made a difference without having the data to back that up. So I started off with my 8-iron and just hitting a collection of golf balls just to warm up. So I didn't want to go straight into hitting golf balls and tracking the data without having sufficiently warmed up. So once I was warmed up, I then took 13 golf balls, which was how many were in the bag, and I switched on the Gen 2 and basically tracked my data hitting my normal golf swing. So I'm currently working on improving my swing, but I didn't make any changes based on anything I've been doing recently. I wanted to just swing my natural swing and try to collect the data. After I had hit my 13 balls, I then put the TRS slider on, and once it was fitted, I decided to make a couple of practice swings just to see how it felt on my body and get used to it, because it brings the trail arm in and it's something I'm not used to doing. So I thought, rather than hitting balls and collecting data, having never even swung with it, it'd be a good idea just to make a couple of practice swings. Now, I've got to be honest, the first shot that I hit was a bit of a shank and I was a bit concerned. However, I decided to persevere and hit some more golf balls, and quite quickly I noticed massive differences in my swing. So I could feel myself that the swing was a lot shorter than it normally is, and I could also tell with my actual strike of the ball it was much better. As well as that, I could see the impact position on net was much more central compared to my dispersion, which is usually a little bit wild. And finally, because I was looking at the data live in my Gen 2 in the app, I could see that I was hitting a lot more straight shots compared to the normal fades or slices that I tend to hit. Now, because I am used to swinging my golf swing, I only collected 13 shots with my standard swing. With the TRS slider, I decided to hit around about 20 or 25 shots because, of course, there were a couple which I mishit because I'm not used to wearing this. So I also figured that because it's not my normal swing, it would make more sense to capture just a bit more data to be able to analyze. Now, once I had finished collecting that data, I then did a quick little review in the FlightScope app, and I was amazed at what I was seeing. I genuinely could not believe just how much of an improvement there was in terms of the data. And that's what we're going to go through just now. You'll see I've got 9 shots here. So this is my swing without the TRS. You can see the shots are a little bit all over the place, to be honest. My carry numbers and total numbers, they're not great because I'm not the most efficient ball striker. My swing isn't great. I've got big problems with my setup on my backswing, which I'm currently working on. So generally what I see with my shots are a little bit of inconsistency in terms of direction, and I tend to hit a little bit of a high shot pretty weak, and my swing path is always basically out to in. So it's just something I do. So that results in a lot of fades. If I switch to this top view here and then do, let's have a look at all shots by group, we can see here that my average carry is 130.8. My standard lateral deviation is 8.5 yards to the right, and my standard deviation forward is 6.6 yards. The grouping there is not terrible, but you'll notice it is only from 9 shots and not 13. And that's because within the app, I decided to pull out any outliers. So any shanks or really, really low numbers for my 8-iron that I knew weren't good hits, I removed those for both my standard 8-iron and also for shots with the TRS. This is where it gets interesting though. So if we jump back to the standard view here, let's go for down the line. You can see if I run through the shots, we've got fade, straight, straight, pull, draw, straight, pull, fade, fade. Okay, so there's a lot going on there. If I jump over to the TRS, you'll see that straight away we can see from this view with all shots, the dispersion is definitely a lot tighter. But there are 18 here, so I removed about 7 bad shots and left 18 to work with that data. But you can see if I run through them, we've got pull, draw, pull, draw, pull, draw, straight, 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 pull, draw, straight, draw, straight, 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 draw, straight, straight, straight. So not one of those was a fade, basically, that I can see from that information. I can also see the club path there is considerably better than it was with my standard 8-iron not wearing the slider. But if we jump to a different view, so let's go to this view of top down again and grouping, we can see that the grouping there is a lot tighter. And if I overlay my standard 8-iron without the TRS, there's a big, big difference. Now, of course, we've got one that's slightly out to the right there. If we remove that, it probably would tighten up a little bit, but it still wouldn't be as tight as the TRS 8-irons. What is really good about the FlightScope data I have is I have BadgerAI, and this is basically AI that's built in that I can use to analyze my sessions. So rather than me going through the data and trying to work out what's what, I employed BadgerAI to do that for me before recording this video. And I want to go through what it has concluded. So essentially, I explained to it that I took lots of shots with an 8-iron, and I've called the second 8-iron with TRS, which is basically the same club whilst wearing this. And I asked it to basically tell me which one performed better. So in conclusion, it says that the 8-iron wearing a TRS is the clear winner based on the data, demonstrating improvements in both distance and consistency. In terms of distance, I gained 6.6 yards more carry distance, and this was primarily driven by a 4.1 mile an hour increase in my ball speed, just from hitting shots using the TRS slider. Now, the interesting thing here is that higher ball speed translates directly to more distance. Now, you might be looking at this and going, well, your average looked different on the previous screen. That's because this data is analysing all of the shots, including the ones I've removed, so including the outliers. So it's all of the data that I captured is what BadgerAI is analysing. So it actually gives us a better representation of my golf swing whilst wearing the slider. If I scroll down, tighter dispersion. So the average lateral distance was much closer to the centre line of 0 yards with the TRS club or using the slider, which was 2 yards to the right compared to 9.4 when I didn't wear it. So I was basically 7.4 yards more accurate and closer to that centre line whilst wearing the TRS slider. So therefore there was a tighter or more consistent grouping of shots, which means that whilst I wear this, the shot is generally more predictable and reliable. There was also an increase in spin and better spin control. So whilst wearing the TRS slider, I had an average spin rate which was 6.158 revs per minute compared to 5469. So there's a gain of about 700 revolutions per minute there, which is quite a big gain. For something like an 8-iron, you want a bit more spin to stop the ball. So that's not a bad thing. It says there that TRS club spin was more tightly grouped, contributing to its better consistency. The key takeaways are basically what we have just said, so that's going to be a little summary, so I'll skip that. But we know that the spin was higher, was better, we know that the grouping was better, we know that we were closer to the centre line, and we know that I gained 6.5 yards. But what I did is I asked BadgerAI to actually analyse and tell me more about my swing path and the kind of data that's important for a golf swing. So what it then came back with was an analysis of my club path, angle of attack, and face to path for both types of shots. So it says here that the most significant difference between the two sets of shots was that my standard swing without wearing the slider had an average club path of minus 2.9 degrees. This is basically a strong out to in path, and it means that the club is traveling across the ball from the outside the target line to inside the target line at impact. This results in fades and slices, okay, which is what we saw looking at the data. However, when I was wearing the TRS, I dropped that club path down from 2.9 to from minus 2.9 to minus 1.1. So it said, although it was slightly out to in, it was 70% closer to the target line than my swing whilst not wearing this. And that resulted in me hitting much more straight or draw shots whilst wearing the TRS than when I didn't. The other thing to mention here is the angle of attack. So when I wasn't wearing the slider, it was negative 5.9. That dropped down to negative 5.3. Not a huge reduction there, but a slightly shallower angle attack is preferred here. The data that FlightScope give you is suggestions is between -3 and -5. So we're trying to get closer into that area. A steep angle of attack can lead to lower launch angle and higher spin loft. So it's basically telling you want to try and drop that slightly. And whilst wearing this, that's exactly what happened. Finally, we have my face to path relationship. So this is a relationship between the club face and the club path, which determines the curvature of the spin on the ball. So with my standard swing, without wearing this, face to path average of 10.9 degrees, which basically means that on average, my face is open by 10.9 degrees relative to the path, resulting in a slice or a push slice. But with the TRS, it was a much tighter, more controlled number. So it says it's only 2 degrees open relative to path, which leads to a slight fade or a slight straight shot. So when combined with the negative 1.1 path, the ball starts slightly left and then curves slightly right, resulting in much more manageable shot shapes. So as you can see, I have only played with the TRS slider for one session, and we've already seen a dramatic improvement in my golf swing data with my A-time. Now, of course, I need to fully test this with all the clubs in the bag and over several weeks, like I do with all products that I review. I don't just use it once in review. I like to test before producing the review. But I am honestly really excited about what this might do for my golf swing because I've got the data to back that up. So anyway, I would love to know your thoughts on this. If you already use one or you're thinking about getting one and you have some questions or you want to share some comments, please do drop them in the comments area below. Of course, make sure you hit that like button, hype up the video if you've enjoyed it. It helps to promote it to other people who might be interested in this product or finding out more. And if you've not done so already, please do consider subscribing to the channel because I will have the full review up soon and you won't want to be missing that one. But anyway, thanks again for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it and I'll see you in the next one.